is, what impact will COVID-19 have on the design industry in the coming years?
You're right. Whenever anything like this happens, may it be recession, may it be something else, may it be war-like situation, I mean, all the new development is immediately kept on hold. That's the first, way in which industry reacts to this whole thing. So, in the same way, industry has reacted to COVID-19 also. All the new developments are mostly on hold, except few industries. So when new developments are on hold, the first department which gets hit is naturally design department. There are very few industries who have continued to develop what they were developing in this pandemic situation also. In fact, in many industries, the focus has changed to development of their own activities to development related to COVID. Like some machine tool industries have started developing ventilators, but that's a different story. Otherwise, there is a huge impact on design departments. Most of the students who had got jobs earlier, they have been asked to wait for some more time, maybe 2 months, 3 months, and they will be getting their employment renewed maybe next year. So that is the immediate impact which has happened. Like any other industry, it will take at least 1 year for all of us, including design industry, to come out of this and be in a situation like it was there earlier. So there is an impact and there is a huge impact.
Correctly said, sir. So, being the dean of the MIT Institute of Design, what is your philosophy of leadership? Like, how would you describe your leadership style?
Okay, I'm very liberal leader, so to say, because that's what is expected in design education. You should be a leader who is open to any new ideas, any new challenges, any new questions, any new discussions. In fact, that openness is needed in design education. That openness is there in design industry also, because the whole design activity is based on the property or the specification of curiosity. It is built on asking questions, asking right questions. So as a leader, I'm always open to all these things. I'll have to be open to all these things, and that's what is needed. Here in MIT Institute of Design, every department is autonomous department. They function as if they are institute. They function as if they are industry. So in a way, we treat them as designers. So if you ask me, I have 1,300 students and around 60 plus faculty members. We treat all of them as designers. So we treat them as creative individuals, and we allow them to grow in a way they want themselves to grow. We allow them to work on various projects. So that's what is required in a leadership role. I must give them freedom to work on the projects, and I must encourage them to work on a variety of projects which they are doing. My faculty as well as my students are doing it very sincerely, and I think that's the way in which education leadership is required for any design institute. This is so we treat all professors not as teachers, but they are there to handhold the students. All the professors are allowed to go and have their own consultancy services. They can work on the industry projects, consultancy projects through institute, and students also participate in all those projects. So this type of structure, which is not there in typical education institute, is required in design institute, and that's how we work, and that's how my leadership goes about.
Okay, so sir, speaking about your philosophy, can you please share any insight into how your institute is more welcoming to students of different races and economic backgrounds?
Yes, that's a really good question, because in these days the fees of even National Institute of Design type of institutes which are supported by government are very high, and there is hardly any concession for weaker students. I mean, students from weak economic strata. We at MIT Institute of Design are definitely open to all the races. We treat them equal. For us, if someone joins MIT Institute of Design, he or she joins design, and all the students are equal for us. As far as the concessions or scholarships for economically weaker section students, we have a separate scheme for them. So we give around 50% fee waiver to almost 20 students every year, which is a huge amount in terms of revenue. But we do that every year to encourage the students from weaker section also, or economically weak sections also, to join design and to collaborate or to participate in this design activity. But yes, the cost of education in design is very high, so we need to have such facilities for all the students to come and join design institute. But as far as even on campus, we celebrate almost all festivals. It's not to encourage celebration of festivals, but it is for students to understand different cultures and the way in which different cultures are there, and this helps them to respect each other's culture. That's why there is a very cohesive environment on the campus, and we encourage participation from all type of students in all type of activities. So I think it's a good vibrant environment on the campus. That's the plus point of MIT Institute of Design.
Okay, sir. So, sir, like coming on to your experience, you have been in the industry for so long. So, how do you plan on using the immense knowledge and experience that you have been gained over the years in the education and design industry?
See, it's a good, unique combination which I have. Well, let me brief you a little more about my background. I'm graduate in mechanical engineering. Then I did my master's in production engineering with a specialization in CAD/CAM automation. And after that, I did my PhD in design. So I was a faculty in engineering, institute, which is Maharashtra Institute of Technology, for 12 years. And after that, I was instrumental in starting MIT Institute of Design. So I know both the sides of the coin. So engineering side also I'm aware of. I'm aware of the requirements of the design side also. So that gives me a uniqueness in terms of position, because I understand both the cultures very well. And with that, I'm able to contribute in terms of syllabus. I'm able to contribute in terms of institute building. I'm able to contribute in terms of technology, adoption of technology in courses, adoption of technology in running the day-to-day activities of the institute. So this is a unique, thing which I'm doing for MIT Institute of Design. And again, same thing, I am open to any new idea. I'm open to any new technology. I mean, when this entire COVID-19 started happening, and when the lockdown started, we were literally in 6 to 7 days time, we shifted from our traditional teaching to the online teaching. And we are doing it successfully for last 6 months. Our New Year's admissions are over. First year students have joined virtually. All the classes have started. So, in fact, that's where my role comes as a leader, and that is how I'm open to all these new aspects of technology. I have better understanding of industrialization because I have worked in industry also for 6 years. I have very good connect with industry. And another important thing in which my contribution lies is internationalization of higher education. So I have visited almost 20 different countries in last, I would say 20 years. Every year I visit at least one or two countries. I go to various universities. I have visited all the top world-class design institutes in the world. And what happens through this is I'm able to bring the new concepts in higher education, new concepts in design education to MIT Institute of Design. So it gives a good richness to my own, personality, and it helps MIT Institute of Design to get adapted to all latest technologies, all latest processes which are used in higher education. So it's a win-win, and it's happening pretty smooth for last 15 years in MIT Institute of Design.
But I must say that is really incredible. Like the combination of your educational background and your industry connect. It is really incredible. So, moving on to the next question, with the growing need of the students to be industry ready, can you please highlight the facilities provided in your institute?
Yes. There are two aspects of making someone industry ready. Someone who wants to be a designer and wants to contribute to industry as a designer naturally has to be a designer first. So there is a lot of emphasis on making him a good designer. So there are many courses which are part of this process, and for making him a good designer, there are few skills which are almost mandatory. So his understanding about various materials, his understanding about various processes, his understanding about various technologies, about various ways of expressing your own ideas, like sketching skills, drafting skills, 3D modeling skills. So this is skill part of design education. So there is a lot of emphasis on skill part of design education in MIT Institute of Design. And once they are through with the skill part, I think then we go to cognitive part of design education. Then they start talking about projects, they start talking about products, they start talking about services, they start talking about systems. So they design systems, they design products, they design collaterals, brands, brand identities, they design animation films. So this is another part of design education which is more or less hands-on. So every student undergoes around 8 to 10 projects throughout their career, and that makes them industry ready in a way, because when they have handled 8 to 9 projects, these are independent projects, these are not group projects. So when they have handled all these independent projects, they can go to industry and start their job next day. There is another important facet to this entire design education at MIT Institute of Design. We are very closely connected to industry. I mean, we bring a lot of live industrial projects in the classroom. So students work on industrial projects which are live sometimes and which are hypotheticated sometimes. So they get a chance to work on industry scenario or that type of project. Then there is another level of interaction which happens with industry through internship. So every student is supposed to go and work in industry for 6 weeks, and that is a mandatory credited course. So the idea of that internship is to give them exposure to the different ways and processes and functioning of industry. So they understand how industry functions, they understand what is the hierarchy in an organization, how to get things done, what are the processes, how to fill a tender, how to submit a report, how to present. So they are exposed to all these transactional skills which are necessary in industry. Third very important thing is, for all the students, they go and work in industry for their last 6 months. So all BDES, that is Bachelor of Design students, go in industry and work on a 6 months project as their final thesis project. This is a very long duration. They go in industry and work on live projects. Now, this is a very good interaction with industry. Many times what happens is, if the student likes industry, if the industry likes students, I mean, they start getting job offers from that same industry. Or otherwise, they are industry ready. They know how industry works. They know what is live project. They know the nitty-gritties of live project, and they are ready from day one to go and work on the project. So these are industry interactions which happen throughout their career. There is very unique feature about MIT Institute of Design, or our university, which is MIT Art, Design and Technology University. We have a school of holistic development. I mean, we have created a separate school which doesn't have its own students. And the School of Holistic Development takes care of many courses which develop their personality. I mean, there are so many skills other than design skills which are required for a designer. I mean, good English communication skill, good presentation skill, making good presentations, then command over at least one foreign language, understanding how industry works. So in this aspect, we have created School of Holistic Development. So in first year, we focus on body, mind, and sport. So these are compulsory courses which they are supposed to take. There is one course in yoga, there is one course in meditation, there is one course in sport. So this happens in first year. Additionally, in first year, they are supposed to prove their language proficiency, or otherwise they are supposed to undertake a language course, English communication course. So if someone is not good in communication, written and verbal both, they get a chance to improve on that. This happens in first year. In second year, the focus is on creative courses for non-creative students and for technical courses for creative students. Like if someone wants to understand CAD/CAM, if someone wants to understand cryptocurrency, if someone wants to understand IoT, or it's someone wants to go and understand, what is virtual reality, mixed reality. So there are courses planned which they can take up as electives in other schools. So design student can take up a course from engineering school, or engineering student can take up a course from design school. So this happens in second year. In third year, they are supposed to go for one foreign language other than their mother tongue, Hindi and English. Other than these three languages, they are supposed to take up one foreign language. So they become conversant with at least one foreign language. And in the third year itself, we talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about IPR. So there are one or two courses on entrepreneurship and IPR. So we try to give them sufficient bandwidth of knowledge which will allow them to go and work in industry right from day one. So this is the meaning of industry readiness for us, and we are consistently doing it, and I think we are getting good success out of it, because our students have proved it again and again that they are worth of these things, and they are doing it wholeheartedly, and they are getting benefits out of it. So this is what we are doing in MIT Art, Design and Technology University, or to be specific, MIT Institute of Design under this.
That is really a whole package for all the aspiring designers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when you first came to MIT IB, what was your vision? Has it evolved over time, or what do you think? How far are you from implementing that vision?
Okay, so let me talk about my history with MIT Group. I joined MIT Group in 1994 as an assistant professor in mechanical engineering department. So I was a faculty of engineering, as I said, for 12 years. While doing that, I got a chance to interact with, so I became head of production engineering department, and I got a chance to learn new technologies, was exposed to new technology. So the vision started from there actually. And so in 2000, we started MIT CAD/CAM CAE Design and Training Center, which used to run, CAD/CAM courses. Even today we run CAD/CAM courses, but we started CAD/CAM courses for engineers. So we started interacting closely with industry, and students used to get a huge benefit of those courses. When those courses came to a certain level, we started thinking about natural expansion of that activity, and that is where the idea of Institute of Design came into our mind, and that is how in 2006 we started MIT Institute of Design. So it was a natural extension of some thought process, and when we started, we decided to have a design habitat. So if you see my old designation, it was Dean Design Habitat. Now we are in university, so we don't call it as Design Habitat, we call it as Faculty of Design. But my original designation was Dean Design Habitat. So Design Habitat is a concept. We wanted to have all the creative people under one roof and interacting with each other, integrating with each other in terms of projects, in terms of day-to-day transactions. So that was the whole idea. So now we have reached to it, I would say almost up to 95% level, because on our campus at Loni, we have fine arts, we have applied arts, we have drama, we have film institute, we have architecture, we have media, journalism, broadcasting, design. So the whole bandwidth of, or the whole spectrum of creative education, we have performing arts. So we run bachelor's program in music, in dance, in rhythm instruments and all those things. So we have an entire bandwidth of creative programs available under one roof. And not only that, we have other disciplines like bioengineering, biosciences, we have marine engineering, we have normal engineering. So we integrate with all these institutes, all these departments very closely, and that is the best benefit which a student can get. So I would say whatever we dreamt of is almost near completion, but of course there is always a scope for improvement in whatever we are doing. So I think we are on right track, and the new education policy has endorsed whatever we were saying for all these years. We always believed in integration of art, design and technology under one platform, and we used to do that. We have done it successfully, and now new education policy is also talking about all these aspects. New education policy has endorsed whatever we were saying for all these days. So I would say it was a good dream, and it's coming true, but yes, there is a huge scope for improvement, and we are on continuous improvement mode in that aspect also.
Okay, so sir, what do you see as MIT Institute of Design College's biggest strength?
Yes, that's a right question, best question I would say. Our biggest strength is our faculty, because bricks and mortars can be created by anyone. Any good business house which has huge amount of surplus can create world-class infrastructure. But getting right faculty for right job is the key. And my strength, MIT Institute of Design strength right from day one was the best possible mentors which are available in our country. So they are like design gurus. We started with Professor Kumar Vyas, who was the first professor of National Institute of Design, and he was our mentor for all these years till he was alive. Then there were so many stalwarts who were colleagues of him, were our academic council member right from day one. So right from day one, we were blessed with right kind of faculty, best faculty pool. Second important strength is the brand which we have developed over the years. We have never compromised on quality of education. We have never compromised on certain things. And in fact, let's say INTEC, it's a private university, it's a private institute. We could have gone for 500 INTEC by now, but we haven't changed our INTEC in last almost 6 to 7 years, more than that in fact. So that talks about our commitment towards quality education. So third very important thing is, of course, my students. Because our intake is limited, because there are many aspirants who apply to MIT Institute of Design, our selection ratio is sometimes 1 out of 25, 1 out of 30. So we get best possible students for design education in MIT Institute of Design, and they are the torch bearers. They are our ambassadors to the rest of the world. Our first batch passed out in 2008, so we almost have students of 12 batches in the market, and that is a huge number. They are our torch bearer. So that is our another strength. And fourth important strength, which is not only for MIT Institute of Design but for entire MIT group, is industry connect. We are very closely connected to industry. On MIT Institute of Design's list, we have almost 400 plus industries, including all design studios in Pune and in India. So that these are the four pillars, I would say, which make MIT Institute of Design what we are today.
Okay, so sir, how do you tend to establish a healthy relationship and environment in MIT ID?
As I said, it's an open environment. We have students council, we have faculty council. We interact with faculty and students on regular basis. There are open forums if something happens. If some important issue is to be discussed, like there are so many issues, like drug can be one issue. There can be, students deviating from their regular activities can be another issue. Women harassment can be. So whenever there are critical issues, we conduct open forum, we discuss it openly. We allow students to contribute in creating solutions for every problem. So this is very important for any design institute, for that matter, any education institute. So very openness, openness in discussion, openness in contribution from students and faculty. I think that's the key towards success of any good academic setup. That's what we are following. There are certain, mandatory requirements like committees, which are requirements from UGC. We follow all those committees. One more point I wanted to mention, which I forgot in your earlier question. It is referring to your earlier question. We are governed by Maharashtra State Assembly Act. So this act, this is a state private university. So this act of our university was passed in state assembly. So we are governed by rules and regulations of Maharashtra state. And because we are a university, we are also governed by UGC, which is University Grants Commission. So we follow all the norms which are there for any other university. We follow all other norms which are laid down by Maharashtra state from time to time, and including reservation. So that also gives a chance to students from different communities and different castes to join design. So it's a very healthy type of atmosphere which we have built. The most important thing is allowing students to ask questions. So students can come and ask questions very freely, and we answer those questions to our extent possible. We try to solve all those issues to our extent possible. I think this openness might have helped us in creating a good culture and atmosphere in MIT Institute of Design.
Correctly said, sir. Speaking about the open discussion, it is indeed a good initiative in your institute.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
sir, coming on to the last question, any suggestions you would like to give to the current youth and the aspiring students?
Yes, very important question, because there are many suggestions. In fact, I would suggest students to attend live sessions which we conduct from time to time. Because of pandemic, probably we are little late this year. Otherwise, by now we start our live sessions in multiple cities. We announce those sessions and conduct all those sessions for students to clear their doubts. More importantly, doubts of their parents, because parents have more doubts than students. A good advice, in fact, multiple advices to students: don't join design if you want to run away from something. I think, if you don't like science, that's why you want to join design, then that will not be a right decision. Join design if you have real passion towards creativity, the real passion towards creative programs. Because otherwise, if you are not successful in other domains, you will be unsuccessful in design also. So you'll have to be very cautious, very careful before joining any design program. It's in design, they say that there is no theory exam. There is, they feel that students feel that it's okay, just go and chill there, and like that the environment is. But it's not like that. It's a very serious education. It's a very serious business. There is lot of effort. There are lot of effort. There is lot of hard work required to be a good designer. Third important thing is, we don't go to any mediocre doctor or a lawyer or an architect. Same is the case with designer. It's a profession of performance. So if you are able to perform, you'll get jobs. You will get multiple jobs. In fact, you will get a lot of work which sometimes it will not be possible for you to handle. But that will be there only for those students who are really good in their design skills, in their problem solving skills. So don't join design because you have nothing to do and you don't want to do something else and want to do it. You'll have to have very strong inclination towards this creative profession. Otherwise, it will be a misfit. You'll never succeed in design also. This is very important advice. And if possible, for undergraduate students, I'm saying if possible because there are many courses which doesn't require that. But if possible, have science stream, if possible. Especially when you want to join industrial design, please have science stream at your 11th and 12th. That will help you a lot. That will not be a eligibility criteria, but that will certainly help you a lot in understanding concepts, scientific concepts. And third and last and very important, you should not run away from technological revolution which is happening. You should embrace the technology. If you are willing to embrace the technology, you will succeed, because today without technology, any field has no meaning. So in design also, huge amount of technological inputs are required. So you should be in a position to embrace it. Otherwise, you will become an artist. You should not become artist. Understand the difference between art and design. And then join design with open eyes, open mind, and open heart. You will definitely succeed.
He said so. Sir, lastly, I would like to know that do you have anything to say on the collaboration of College Dunia and MIT ID?
Yeah, we are in collaboration for a few years at least, as I know, and it's working well. Certainly, College Dunia is certainly a good platform, and many students follow it. I think in terms of lakhs, I suppose,
Yeah.
There are few million students who follow College Dunia, and it's a good integrated platform to get information about all these new activities, new domains of higher education. And it certainly helps. So follow College Dunia. It will be a good addition to, and there will be some value addition in your knowledge base.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out some time, and it was really an insightful and enriching experience interacting with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.